All right, so we're at 2 o'clock, so we're going to be prompt and get started. So as you're joining, please make sure you chime in on the chat with your name and the team that you're from. And first and foremost, thank you to everyone for tuning in. We really appreciate you taking your time to jump in and taking the time, especially for those of you that will jump in and share your experiences for the betterment of everyone. That is the goal of this. So my name's Denise Sickenetter. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Service from Spinzo. This is definitely not a Spinzo discussion. This is a discussion about how we become better as group salespeople holistically. We at Spinzo take great pride in being a resource to help teams sell more tickets, but also back to the bare basics of like, how do we continue to grow group sales, right? So it's not necessarily just always about the platform. It's about the program. It's about the ideas. It's about all of that. So we're excited to be kind of leading some of this collaboration, and we can't do it without you. A couple housekeeping things. As you jump in to speak, please help us and say your name and the team that you're with, because that definitely helps everyone get a basis of, you know, where you're coming from, your perspective, but then it lends itself to conversations following this. So keep that in mind. You should be automatically muted as you jump in. So stay muted unless you are jumping in to speak, and jump in and share, please, because that's how this will be successful. And we didn't have a problem with that last week with our Faith and Family Night. So hopefully that'll be the same here. Speaking of last week, if you haven't checked it out, if you go to the website ticketplaybook.com, that's where you will find the recording and the notes from last week's discussion. And once we get through this discussion, by Monday of next week, hopefully before then, you'll see the recording of this as well as the discussion notes from this. So I've tried to make it very specific, bullet pointed of who said something, their examples, so that you can go back and reach out to those people as well. One other thing I'll mention, and we'll recap this at the end, next week, we're going to keep the same day of the week and same time. So Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern will kind of be our rolling time for these discussions. Next week, we're going to discuss military and government nights. And then the following week on May 13th, we are going to be talking non-game day events. So all of those registrations will be live on ticketplaybook.com. So as you want to check those out, we'll also be posting all of that on LinkedIn. So that is all the housekeeping. So let's get to the reason we're all here. So I'm very excited. I reached out to Jamie Clark at the Detroit Red Wings because they do some really great things in the youth hockey space, and she's been working in that space for a really long time. So I asked her to jump in, and then I also asked another Jamie, Jamie DeMatthew from the Bucks, to jump in too from his perspective. So to kick us off, let's get started with Jamie Clark. And Jamie, if you wouldn't mind just jumping in and talking about the success that you guys have had within your own sport. So I think this is really important as we talk about youth sports. There's a lot of different ways that we can go, and we want to get to a lot of discussions, but let's talk about, hey, like if I sell hockey, what's been my success in hockey specifically? So Jamie, do you want to jump in and talk just a little bit about that? And we can encourage other people to jump in as well from their sport.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for setting this up, Denise. It's awesome to see this many people jump on and talk about youth sports. I have been with the Red Wings for about 9 years now, in charge of our youth hockey ticket initiatives for like the last 6 or 7. And so I don't think we do anything that is maybe unheard of, but we've just done really well at getting people engaged and getting the youth hockey market really out to some of these games. So we average between 8,000 and 10,000 tickets per season, specific just to youth hockey. And so the programs that I'm really engaging with on both the association level, the state level, anywhere in between team level, is our youth hockey pregame scrimmages. So we're hosting 2 teams every single Red Wings home game for a 50-minute scrimmage. Each team is responsible for selling 100 tickets or 200 for the allotment. We do an intermission, lights on ice, 3 minutes of fame type of thing. We do a youth skater of the game. And then this past season, we really engaged with a lot of the local tournaments. So connecting with them, we're fortunate enough to have not only a really strong brand and a demand for hockey in the Michigan market, but also lucky enough to be able to connect with people over the border. So lots of Canadians coming over for tournaments to you know, when they're in town, how can we engage those teams? How can we get them out to games and really drive revenue from that perspective? So I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm sure a lot of you guys have experiences and are able to add some stuff to my life that maybe we haven't had success with or haven't been able to try. So just looking forward to hearing what everyone has to say.
Perfect. And Jamie DeMatthew, do you mind jumping in and talking about what you guys do with Junior Bucks? Because I know that program is relatively large as well.
Yeah, Jamie DeMatthew with the Bucks. I run pretty much all of our youth basketball ticketing programs. So as Denise mentioned, the Junior Bucks, which is a registration program, we started that probably about 5 or 6 years ago. So it's a program that a lot of teams in the NBA have done. And one of the struggles that we had early on was just maximizing the ticket redemption from it. So actually working with Denise and Emmanuel and Spinzo has really helped us big time when it comes to maximize getting the free tickets, but then also the additional tickets for family and friends and whatnot. Beyond that, we are very similar to a lot of the other teams in the NBA with tons of different fan experiences at games. So that's something that I focus on, where getting kids playing on the court, standing in front of the players, high-fiving players. So really trying to maximize the experience at the games. So yeah.
And Jamie, when you're working, Jamie DeMatthew, when you're working on connecting, are you connecting at the league level? Are you connecting at a team level? Are you going like huge association level? Like break down how you attack the marketplace.
So as probably everyone on here knows, every single market is so different. So for us, the youth basketball organizations are very driven by little cities and towns, which a lot of them have their own individual boards. So I go after these program directors for the most part, and sort of try trickling down from there. So trying to get their whole program to buy in. Beyond that, there's tons of obviously opportunity within the program for individual teams and coaches to come on out. And that's another one thing that we've sort of learned, I guess, through the Spinzo stuff, is just the data collection and figuring out who are these coaches. I always said that the hard thing with like youth sports is you can't always just Google youth coach and figure out who that is. So by doing, sales through Spinzo, I've been able to track who are the head coaches, and get, better contact information directly from there. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything, thinking big, but then also some of our biggest groups are just, a small town and one coach who really made it happen.
Absolutely. So I'm curious from other people on the call, anyone that wants to jump in and who has had some success or has done something unique in reaching out to leagues, feel free to jump in, say your name, your team, and share with us. Anyone?
This is Jeremy with the.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Jeremy with the Colts. Big thing for me recently, actually, last year I got with a camp that does some traveling things. They do a few of them across our region here. We were able to do a pregame with them, so we helped them reach out, and then each parent had to obviously buy a ticket as well to a game. So it came down to really someone that I knew personally, and it helped out because of that relationship that I had. It's actually called the Elliott Quarterback Academy. So we worked with them through the beginning of planning, the entire camp, as it was just a little bit different than they typically have. Kind of created some issues on our end with credentials and everything going through on game day, but overall, it was really successful. We ended up doing about 800 tickets.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jeremy. Who else was going to jump in?
Trevor Herrick, Lehigh Valley Phantoms. Something that we started doing about 3 years ago was working with local youth hockey tournaments. Something that we struggled with. We were kind of maxed out on our youth hockey experiences. We were such a new team that our experiences were going fast. So we had to find a different way to grow that youth hockey platform. So partnering with a tournament, we understood some of the challenges they had with ice time, but also the teams that were coming to the tournament wanted to come to our game. But what was happening is they weren't able to come to the game because they might have a game going on, or, hey, we can't commit to your game until we get our schedule. So we're able to work with the tournament to set up a platform where any team that registered to attend the Phantoms game would not have a scheduled tournament game during that time, which has actually been tremendous. The older teams probably ages 15 and up are playing the night games. The younger kids are now coming to the game, and we're to the point now where we have 4 tournaments a year with them, all averaging about 700 to 800 tickets.
That's awesome. And who, Trevor, were you working with? Were you working with the tournament director to make sure that if they were buying into your game, they weren't going to be scheduled for a game? How did that conversation get started? Because I think that's a really unique thing, that we all have tournaments coming into our market, but how do we help make that work?
Thankfully for us, it was a tournament director. It's run by a company out of Hershey, PA called Travel Champs. They actually take all of the ticket orders. We set up a platform for them. They take all the orders. So it's part of the registration fee where they have that opportunity to sign up. And then by a deadline, they have to commit to X amount of tickets at X price. That way they're tracking who they shouldn't be scheduling during that time. And then they just report back to me, tell me how many tickets. I do the organizing for it because I appreciate them taking the orders. And then when the teams get to their first game, their tickets are there waiting for them.
And lead time for something like that, you know, if we're all thinking about trying to reach out to tournament directors, I mean, what's the window?
So I reached out at the end of our 3rd year in the Lehigh Valley. It was probably July. By the end of the July, we had a commitment that we were going to try it for the October tournament. They put it out, sent it out to all the teams. So really, we just needed a month of really promoting it, and then a month leading up to the game to kind of sure anything up, make sure everyone was paying on time, and get those tickets organized. So really 2 months is the minimum you need. But what we're finding is these teams are registering for tournaments in August, for a tournament in January. But what we're finding is those teams want to commit to the Phantoms game. They know they're going to be in the Valley. They know they're going to be here. They're looking for things to do. And if they can take a night off where, hey, they don't have to go find something else to do, they have their plans already set. It's actually a benefit to the tournament, and they're seeing value. They're getting, 80 plus teams, and what they're seeing is those mite teams that were coming are now coming as squirts. So squirts are now coming as peewees, and it's becoming a tradition where everyone's coming out. And what we're seeing is those same teams are coming to our game.
That's fantastic. Love it. Anyone else have success with tournaments like Trevor? Okay. Well, we'll jump to fan experiences, because I know that was brought up as something with regards to fan experiences. So I'm sure we're pretty familiar across the board with some of the mainstay fan experiences, but is anyone doing something unique or different for youth sports? One of the things that I was talking to one of my coaching clients about was, how do you maximize like court, field, or ice time, because you only have so much of it? And is there a way that instead of doing 2 teams playing against each other, you open it up to clinics where you can shuffle so many more people through that time? So if you have 2-hour window, how many people could you get in for a clinic versus only having 2 teams of 10 play each other? So that was one conversation that I had. So anyone else doing some unique things with their fan experiences, or have unique specific fan experiences for youth sports?
This is Amy Frederick with the Anaheim Ducks. And touching on what you said, Denise, with the clinics, we've had a lot of success. I typically at least once a season now, actually this season, we sold it out, so we opened a second spot, but we do like what we call a holiday hockey clinic, just because it's tough with our pre-games are so far ahead of the actual Ducks game that it's tough to get kids out of school. So I think the holiday timing really worked out because most kids are in school, where we do the younger, more beginner level, like our learn to play kids will come to Honda Center. They're essentially buying a ticket package, and then with the tickets comes the entry to the clinic. So you're getting for the one most of the time I would do 4 tickets gets you 1 registration to the clinic. So you're guaranteeing 4 tickets. We do, obviously you can't have too many kids on the ice at a time, so we do have to put a cap on it, but it's easily 150 to 200 tickets that you're selling from these 25 or so slots. And this season, the first one sold out so quickly, we opened up a second one. But yeah, incorporating the tickets to the Ducks game that night with the clinic registration is really successful with the younger kids. And like I said, mostly for us, it's the learn to play, not necessarily the travel club teams as much. where it's more the younger kids that are really eager to get on the Ducks ice and sharpen their skills because they're just learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Jamie. Ray, did you want to share? I think you're
did.
muted. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I am muted. That's actually most people's preference. First of all, a little shout out about something that we're hosting this Friday. We're hosting a free Faith Leaders Summit. Reach out to me if you're interested in getting an invitation for that. It'll give you something to talk to about people that are working in the faith and family space. We have been endeavoring to do a variety of fan experiences that a lot of you guys are not in a position to offer. First of all, our core business is football. Being Northwestern University, we have to take, in Chicago, we have to take visiting fans as a given for every single one of our games. And so our group tickets are geared specifically for purple-friendly people. And because our brokers have got to make money, and so we have to let them exploit that demand. But what we do is we have fan experiences that bring youth teams together. First of all, we host a free youth football clinic in the spring every year. Used to be tied in with our spring football game, but now that we have the Ryan Fieldhouse and Wilson Field, that's all indoors and capacity is limited. And we use the existing social and community networks to promote this event, and we get a great data capture. So that's what we did. Historically, this has been 250 kids. This year we had 750 kids signed up because we used their existing infrastructure within youth football. We plan on doing something similar with basketball this season as well to capture as much data on this category. We also use baseball to sell football tickets. We use soccer to sell football tickets. Our Olympic sport tickets are only $5. So if you want a Wilson Field rental or a Hutchison Stadium rental, or if you want a Rocky Miller Park rental, you buy a baseball ticket and you buy a football ticket, and we make sure that whatever sport you are in, you get invited. We make sure that the team knows that, those great kids that came to your baseball game or those great kids that came to your soccer game, well, they're going to be at the Tulane game and they're going to be sitting in section 120. And it just happens organically. We sold over 600 youth football tickets to basketball this year because our football players are big basketball fans, and we put them right next to them. They're in section 103. They're in 104. The players are in 104. There's at least 5 or 6 at every single home game, including women's games. And so for the $3 Olympic ticket and the $15 non-conference football ticket, they get 2 great experiences.
That's awesome. Ray, you bring up a great point that I think, we've started talking about mostly like, okay, if I sell in hockey, what do we do really well with hockey teams? But I'm really curious as to how people and how other teams, Ray, you brought it up, cross-sell. Like, so if I am an NHL team, how am I selling a youth soccer night or a youth baseball night or vice versa? And how much success have you guys had cross-selling to different sports that are not your technically sport of play?
Hey Denise, this is Brandon from the Detroit Pistons.
Hi, Brandon.
How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for jumping in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, one thing that we do well with the Pistons, and what we try to do too, is we kind of we go into like especially basketball season kind of starts off like in November, so we kind of kick off in October. But during that time, there's always youth football, and we have different types of fan experiences that we can use, like we call primetime performances. And there are 3 slots that we have per game. They're 2 minutes and 30 seconds long that can allow cheer teams to perform in front of the fans on the actual Pistons court. And we utilize that as a way to kind of get cheer teams involved too. And then we also have a fan experience that they want to make it a league thing, is have some of the football team players actually go in the high five tunnel and high five the Pistons players or the visiting team is in their actual uniforms, which is kind of cool. I don't know how that's going to pan out with everything going on right now, but that's something we did, and it was definitely successful. From like the October till November, where the youth football season was going on. We used it as a fundraiser for them too. So each ticket they sold, $5 went back to them too as well. So they always kind of a huge bump for our early season games.
Awesome. Love that, Brandon. I know, Jamie Clark, we talked about an experience that you guys had done working across with your partner team kind of in the market, the Tigers. So
Yeah.
it's staying in the Detroit marketplace, why don't we? You want to share that night?
Yeah, I was going to say there's kind of 2 points. So the Tigers hosted a Little Caesars Amateur Hockey League night basically at the end of the year. The Little Caesars Amateur Hockey League is the largest league in Michigan for youth hockey specifically. So at the ballpark, they hosted them. It was, highlighting all of the championship teams. They were recognized on the scoreboard. I think they did some on-field recognition as well. And it was a buy one, get one free offer for the kids. So a free ticket with the purchase of an adult ticket, which got, I know, a couple hundred. I don't know, I wasn't in charge of it, but I know that it was very successful for them. And it's something that a lot of my group leaders and just talking to them on the renewal process for hockey was how great that was and how exciting it was to be able to get their team to come out and not really have to do much related to playing sports or getting all their equipment or anything like that out to the hockey game like they typically do. So that I know was super successful for them. Another thing I was going to say is that this past year, I really tried to focus on different ways that we could utilize some of our experiences on ice as well. So, what other sports utilize ice? Is there any other teams that would be interested in doing some of those experiences? So we reached out to a lot of different figure skating clubs and ice skating clubs and able to extend that promotion out to them as well. So do intermissions or pre-games or fundraising with them. And it's something that they hadn't really been touched before. So I think there's other opportunity to utilize their court for something else or the field for something else. That how else could you do a flag football game? Could you do for us like hockey? Could I do broom ball or something like that? So I think that just being creative on that level is always a good idea too.
That's absolutely. And I love, Jamie, that you guys, cross over in off season with another team in your marketplace. And I think now there's no better time than right now to do that and make those relationships, so if you are in a specific market and you handle, youth basketball and someone that handles youth soccer for the, the MLS team or the USL team that's in your league or in your city, why not connect and swap back and forth and say, hey, let's provide year-round fundraising opportunities for our youth sports contacts and help each other. Anyone else have any examples like that are, selling to other sports or cross-selling with other teams in your marketplace?
I think a new one for us, which I don't know how many teams or people on here are selling arena shows as well. Arena shows are something that were brand new to the Milwaukee market with our new arena 2 years ago. And it took a while for a lot of our reps to, get the arena show mindset, on every call and just being able to pitch it. But one thing I know, the regular ones that we have are like a Harlem Globetrotters every year. So just a natural fit for youth basketball teams. Another one that we really did well with was Disney on Ice. So going to all the local skating markets and, figure skating clubs and whatnot. So just trying to think of anything that's already a group and not just assume that they won't be interested or aren't part of other groups is something that I know myself and our reps are sort of had to get over that hump and get used to it.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, there's so many opportunities to generate things for these groups. And, as a parent of a child and children that play youth sports, I can tell you, I haven't done that many pizza parties, end of season pizza parties, but it's boring to go to just a pizza location, a local pizza dive and sit there, so even thinking about that. And I think, depending on your price point, you may be in line or you may not be in line, but those little sports teams, it would be much more exciting to go to a ballpark or a, soccer field or arena than it is to go sit at a dive pizza place and sit with pitchers of soda and pizza and listen to the kids run around and scream. It's not fun. So I'm curious, other ideas? Anyone else want to jump in and share?
It's Arjun with the Maple Leaf Sports Toronto Marlies here. So this is more something that we do to kind of engage some smaller youth sports groups, but we were given the go ahead a couple times a year. It's a little bit tough to pull off, but to put these giant mats on the ice in the intermissions. And earlier this year, we had a gymnastics performance and a karate performance on the ice. So some really cool stuff. I mean, it's tough, like from a game ops perspective. Like we need to be like by the second, the mat's got to be on the ice, and then within like 2.5 minutes total, they got to be back off. So it is tough to pull off every game, but we kind of put in the practice there, and it's a really cool way to engage people. And I mean, from what I've seen, like we haven't really had people stay in their seats during the intermission, more so than when you have 20 kids doing karate chops on the ice. So pretty cool thing there. I've never seen that before I joined the Marlies here, but yeah, if anyone has done anything similar, would love to kind of hear like what other groups you can kind of get on the ice like that.
That's awesome.
This is Rita with the Toledo Mud Hens and the Toledo Walleye. My internet, of course, is of everything that's there. But with the Toledo Walleye, we're a hockey team, and we do have mats that go out during the intermission. We use that for dance teams, cheer teams, twirl teams. We've also had new this year. We've had it for about 3 years now. New this year, we started to get some of the high school bands on that. So the national anthem would start to sell out, and then I would start to offer that so we would try to fill out the national anthem with the bands and choirs, and then then the community, we call it the community showcase. And then we've actually also had a few elementary sign language groups, so that's been really cool. So they play a song and do the sign language to it, so that's been really popular there as well.
Awesome. Thank
No,
you.
sorry, I got a question on that. So do you guys have space in your arena kind of like off the ice where you could have that, or is going on the ice kind of like the best course of action?
So for the community showcase, we typically do the mats on the ice. We have a large promo event staff that pulls them out. We get our ticket staff involved too to help out anyone who basically has an extra hand at that time, to get them on as quickly as possible and then get them off as quickly as possible. We typically give 5 minutes for the performance, and then they have to be off the ice to give the Zambonis time to do their thing. But typically, if it's a choir or a band, we could do it from their seats, but other than that, we really don't have a space in our arena for them to do like a dance performance or anything.
Has anyone done, I know in baseball there's typically parades like on the field. Has anyone done parades on the concourse for, youth sports, and kind of having like youth sports athletes come in their jerseys and have other fans really cheer them and give them a round of applause? Ray, you guys have done that?
I can jump.
We actually have a couple things that we do. One of them is called Walk With Me, and it's a youth football initiative. And the youth football initiative is that our team gets off the bus and goes through Welsh Ryan Arena so that our big donors can see them. But our kids line the whole west side of Welsh Ryan Arena, and it's a single ticket entitlement for any kid that buys a youth football ticket. So if 5 kids come out, but typically we have 30, 40, 50 kids. It's been as many as 400 kids, because there's plenty of room in the concourse, and it's an experience that's very scalable. The other thing that we are actually working on is more of a cheer entitlement, is we have a giant inflatable cat head that the younger cheerleaders flank the team as they're going onto the field from the second half.
Awesome, thank you. And Sergio, were you trying to jump in?
Yeah, Sergio from Chicago Fire FC. Something similar with parades. We do what it's called a Champions Night for our youth soccer teams, and we partner up with the soccer leagues. And what we do is we have a limited amount of teams that can register, just due to the time that we have to present them at halftime. And we make them walk along the sidelines, and we present their names on the jumbotron and obviously announce them. So it's a pretty fun way for those teams to get recognized by their family as they're walking along the sidelines.
Very cool. And you have them, Sergio, apply to be a part of that? Is that what you said?
Yeah, so,
okay.
So yeah, they have to buy their tickets, and we assign all that logistical stuff of where to meet and stuff like that.
Very cool. Any other unique fan experiences or experiences that you provide?
Yeah, this is Kyle with the Timber Rattlers. Kind of going off the parade idea. We do that with our scout night, so Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. And then the Boy Scout night, we actually do a camp out at the ballpark. So after the game, we'll play a movie on the Jumbotron, popcorn, get them out on the field, tent overnight, and then in the morning we serve them donuts, muffins, some milk, and then we get them out of there by 7:30 in the morning and play a game the next night. So we'll just get as many people as we can on the field. Best year we had about 800 to 900 people camping out on the field. Then we had a big rainstorm the next year. So our numbers have kind of fallen down, but we're looking to get that back up again. So hopefully we can keep that around 750 kids out on the field after the game for a camp out.
Very cool. Thank you. So one of the other topics Jamie Clark and I were talking about as we were preparing for this was giveaways. Like what kinds of things are you giving to youth athletes that are unique or different or that have been really receptive to those leagues? So if you're bundling a ticket with something or if they become a part of your junior program, are they getting something unique and different?
I can talk on that too. I know with a lot of the junior programs in the NBA, one thing when we were starting ours, pretty much every market got a reversible jersey with the junior team of, the pro team in the market. When we went around here, for the most part, every program had nice, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas jerseys. So our $10 jersey that we would have offered probably wouldn't have been special to them or anything. So what we did every year now, we've done a custom item for every junior buck participant. So something that's not available in the pro shop or online or anything. So we've done everything from hats to t-shirts to duffel bags have been huge. But it's something that I guess makes the program feel like they're getting more and enhances the value overall when we can get the price for pretty cheap per item. So we just build it in anyways. And but that's been a huge thing, is just something different.
Yeah, I love that. Love that it's exclusive, so they feel really special.
Denise, I have one here. It's Andrew with the Raptors 905 G League.
Hey, Andrew.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Just an FEP that we have for the Raptors 905 that's really unique with youth sports is a net cutting. So what we do is we actually allocate one particular net, especially for after on the side that the home team finishes up for the after halftime for the second half. We bring out a ladder. Game Ops brings out a ladder, a 6-foot ladder. We have somebody that holds it for safety reasons. And then each member of the team actually gets to climb on that ladder and cut a piece of the net down. It really has kind of like that March Madness type of feel to it. And then afterwards, the team actually is able to take that net home with them. So it's just something that, is kind of really inexpensive on the 905 and the G League part with it being the net, but it's such a cool idea for teams to come out, even for their end of the year celebration. They're able to take home an actual physical net. So.
And the pictures have got to be amazing too.
And the pictures are absolutely amazing. The parents just feel like they're watching their child literally cut down the nets after a championship game. We've had numerous Twitter, Instagram, social media responses on, look at my son cutting down the nets that X player had played on today and et cetera. So it's something now that is even some of the parents of the leagues even want their children to do in their own leagues as well, but they don't always have that so they can cut down. So being able to do that from a G League perspective is absolutely amazing.
That's a great concept too, because you think that, a lot of those things that we use in our games, because of the high level of athletic play, they don't get reused, right? Think how many pucks we go through in a hockey game, how many balls in the basketball game. If we can get our hands on any of those things or any of those experiences, it's really, really impactful. One of the things I wanted to throw out, and I don't know if teams are doing this, but, thinking about youth coaches, many times youth coaches aren't compensated. A lot of them are volunteers. So are you doing anything specifically for youth coaches? And one of the ideas I thought about, like, you know, a simple invite, if you have access to the post-game press conference, you know, could you invite them behind the scenes to kind of see that? Is anyone doing anything special for youth coaches?
Yeah, Arjun here with the Toronto Marlies again. So unfortunately, for a couple of reasons, we didn't get to run it this year, but every year in the past, at least for the past few years, we've done a coaches clinic. So what we'll do is we'll get a night dedicated from the Marlies coaching staff, so head coach, assistants, video, kind of all, like the whole sort there, and they'll actually run through you know, how they go through meetings and practices and just give their best practices as to how they run the team, like to one association. So we'll pick an association within the Toronto area, the Greater Toronto area, and all of their coaches will come out and actually get to learn from our coaches. So a cool way to kind of get a little bit more value for the coaches. Obviously, they do so much for the kids and don't always get compensated properly. So that's something cool that we do.
Very cool. Others? Any
Yeah.
others? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Nick.
this is Nick Spano from the Columbia Fireflies. Something that we do is similar with the coaches clinic. We open it up to youth sports, but also the high school coaches. We think that the high school coaches are really important, where we have it up in our club lounge space. It's a buffet. There's a bar open. There's several vendors for Rawlings and Easton up there with different equipment. And then we have our colleges, Clemson and South Carolina baseball coaches kind of talk to the coaches. It's a good networking and mingling aspect, because we find out that a lot of coaches are just not also coaches, but they do have day-to-day jobs. So it does help on the corporate side, just kind of making those connections with folks. So that's something that we do every year here.
Awesome. Thank you. That's a great idea.
This is Rachel from the Detroit Pistons. Kind of to add on to that, we also do a coach's like reception, but we actually have the Pistons head coach come out and speak with them, and they're able to do a Q&A with him as well. So that's always a really popular one for us in the off season.
And Rachel, is that people that have done business with you thus far? Is that prospects? Or is it a combination? Like, how do you guys?
It's a combination, yeah. So it'll be some newer prospects and then people that we've worked with in the past.
Any other ideas on coaches?
One thing that,
oh, go ahead, Jamie.
One thing that we did, one of the biggest struggles, I'm sure with like everyone, is just connecting with people and key decision makers. So one thing I did probably 4 or 5 years ago was started what we called our Youth Basketball Summit, which took place usually in May or so. And what we did was invited as many decision makers, so presidents of youth programs, high school coaches, board members, to come on down to our arena for an event, rather than me just say, do you want to speak about Junior Bucks or about ticket opportunities? We pitched it more as like a thank you for what you do for youth basketball. We have this event for you. I think we just had like hot dogs and like drinks for them and whatnot, but sort of let them out there with a meal. But then we had a keynote speaker every year. So we had our television personalities. We've had our general manager speak, our team president. So almost create like a town hall type atmosphere. But selfishly for me, it allowed me to get all these people in a room, pitch them for the first 10, 15 minutes on the product that I want, but then open it up for our keynote speaker and sort of give them a behind the scenes look. But really it was the first time I could get in front of a lot of these people, but so hosting some type of event really worked.
Awesome. So on that same line of coaches, there was a question here that Austin posted saying, has anyone attempted virtual webinar or virtual coaching webinars or used their team's coaching staff to create videos? And I think I'll also throw in there too, for an idea from Faith and Family Night last week was creating a video to like invite the churches to be a part of it. Has anyone ever used player invites to generate excitement for youth sports too? So that's a lot of questions, but I think just videos and webinars, like what's been the experience with any of those?
Denise, this is Stuart with the Phoenix Suns. Going back to what you originally said previously about using the coaches, last season what we did is we invited out coaching and team prospects and actually did a skills, like our coaches showed exactly what they practice with their players and showed them different drills they can do with their youth teams. And then we made it a prospect event. So then before the event or after the event, we talked with the coaches and tried to sell them or did sell them. But it was about an hour to 2 hour clinic on our practice court in-house where the coaches were teaching skills and drills to the youth coaches.
Love that. That's awesome. And I think too, like coming from the NBA, I know my experience, we were required, and I don't know if this is still an NBA requirement, to host an open practice anyways for the greater community. So is there a way to tack onto that even a small portion that could be specific to youth coaches? So if you're already doing like an open practice, or if you have an open skate, you know, for example, in NHL, can you tag on to something like that and invite these youth coaches, you know, maybe for a 10 to 15 minute, you know, interaction with the coaches, and then let them just sit and watch, you know? So how can you get access to that? And I know those are tricky subjects. Working with operations, team operations, it's not always the easiest, but there's lots of ways that you can make it very easy.
Denise, on your second point, like different videos and promotional items, I know this past summer we didn't have player involvement, which is something that I definitely would love to have in the future, but we did have our in-arena host do like a short 30-second video just highlighting different youth hockey experiences, really focusing on our intermission experience and trying to say like, this is what it's going to be like for you, showing some highlight reels from the previous season. And that was something that I was able to utilize to help promote and also just contact new prospects, say this is kind of what it would be like, and it gave them a good opportunity to learn a little bit more about the program, and that was really well received.
Fantastic. Jamie, do you have an example of that video that you could shoot me and I can add it to the notes when we load it?
Yep.
That would be awesome. Yep. Perfect. Any other ideas on that one? Because I have another question that got posed that I'd like to jump to.
Just to play off of that, off of Jamie's point there, and this is something new that we actually did this season just to kind of update our website page. Raptors 905, we actually shot all of our FEPs to actually do an email blast to a lot of our youth clubs. So whether it's like the, you know, high five tunnel, the pregame performance, post-game photo, we actually had a day where we had all of our FEPs booked. And we actually, you know, got the waivers, everything signed from the teams to tell them that, hey, you're actually going to be included with a Raptors 905 video shoot of this particular experience. So now we're actually able to leverage and use those, the actual words from the clients and youth teams and the group leaders to actually go and now sell for future references. So it's something that we're able to kind of use for those who are like, well, I've heard of, you know, a high five tone before, but I don't know exactly what it looks like. We actually can send you exactly what that actually looks like, and you get firsthand experience from that group leader and even some of the kids as well.
That's fantastic. And I think too, if you think about it, if you don't sell your FEPs for your pregame or your preseason games, a great opportunity to leverage some of your best groups to have access to that. Or maybe if they book a group by a certain time that they're going to get that experience, they're also going to get this special exclusive opportunity to be videoed for it and then, you know, highlight it on your website. So I love that. It's a great concept. So the other question that got posed was when you're starting a new youth program night, so you're going out, say, let's say, for example, you're going out to try to attack cheer and dance. How do you find anchor groups or get like the big buy-in people to be able to create something like that? So does anyone have experience of like finding kind of those champions within the world? Because we all know those youth sports worlds they're worlds unto their own, and they all have their own little societies, if you will. So anyone that's had experience with starting brand new and jumping in as opposed to just pinging off individual teams?
Hey, this is Austin Weber with the El Paso Swallows. One night that kind of came together a little more organically than expected was a youth sports, was a youth wrestling night. Essentially, what ended up happening was there was the state tournament was hosted in El Paso in like early March last year, and I ended up connecting with one of the parents of one of the wrestlers teams, and they wanted to recognize all the El Paso wrestlers that were state qualifiers, had placed, medaled, so on and so forth. So we ended up creating this night together. It generated about 300, I think just above 350 tickets between families and wrestlers, with cool, just those fan experiences pregame wise, which was unique. And then we started planning for this year and trying to get more of the individual clubs that may not have been necessarily involved with it the first year. I think we only had about 3 clubs involved, but ended up finding out there's another like 7 clubs locally that could have been involved. So we're trying to expand it for hopefully this year, if not 2021.
Fantastic. So going to like the state level, looking at state tournaments, great idea. Other ideas on starting new nights or jumping into new sports that you haven't worked with before?
Jennifer with the Washington Nationals. I'm actually the one that posed the question, but I did start our youth swimming night, and we actually worked with the local USA Swimming league, and they actually do all the promotion for us. So we actually have had to do very little lift. We also tied it in with, luckily, the person we connected with used to be Katie Ledecky's coach. So the first year for our launch, he was able to actually bring her in to do a meet and greet with anyone who had a ticket, which made it obviously the launch point really successful. But we've tried to add some sort of programming with it each year versus instead of doing a parade, there's been something with some sort of local swimmer. But we were trying to launch swim and dance night and are running into not necessarily having that organization. And I don't know if anyone has any success or anything with a larger organization in that area, or just what they did with ones that they weren't able to find an anchor group.
Yeah, Mark, with the Toronto Marlies at Maple Leaf Sports, we do actually have a swim night that we try to implement every year. And in order to add a little token, basically we branded swim caps that all the swimmers receive if they purchase their tickets. Regardless if it's just one parent and 3 swimmers, we'll provide them with the appropriate amount of caps. But basically, it adds value rather than just having the ticket and their name on the video board. When we see all the swimmers wearing their team gears plus the Marlies branded swim cap, it always added to it. And I've now been chatting with a few coaches, and the kids are going bananas for their caps. They wear it at every practices, and it kind of snowballs. So we're looking forward to more swim nights on the years to come for sure.
That's awesome. I like that idea.
A good source of intelligence is high school coaches, and most high school coaches' information is available universally in every state in the country. So, for instance, there's the Illinois High School Association, and you go into their directory, and the athletic director and the coach of whatever sport is involved, their contact information is embedded in there. And if you have a properly worded outreach to the high school coaches, they'll tell you who's important in youth sports. Oh, and the way I learned this is that we had a former All-American, a Tualatin Award winner on our as a graduate transfer playing on our basketball team this year, and so we had the idea, well, we better have a youth lacrosse day because he was an All-American in lacrosse for 4 consecutive seasons, or 3 consecutive seasons, excuse me, and we didn't know anything about youth lacrosse, particularly boys lacrosse. And it was through our contacts with high school coaches, we found out who the youth coaches were. And we had a pretty successful event. We had a game against Penn State. We had a pregame meet and greet with Pat Spencer for the players. And we sold, I think, 300 tickets from a cold start.
Another question that got posed was, and this is an interesting one, the Olympics obviously have been canceled for this summer, not necessarily geared towards the Olympics, but thinking about the fact that the Olympics houses so many sports in one global event, what types of events have you done with multiple sports together? And I'm going to date myself and go way back to my days selling group tickets or tickets in general for the Pittsburgh Pirates, but I'll share one example. I ended up working with, and we've talked a lot about high school athletic associations. I worked with the Ohio Valley Athletic Association, so that was actually in the state of West Virginia, and so it was West Virginia and Ohio, and they ended up doing a night of champions. So the director of the entire league or the entire association always wanted to recognize the championship teams from each one of the sports, and never had a facility or a way to do that. So we helped him do that. So basically every champion, so whether you were volleyball, basketball, football, they were all invited to be a part of a big parade and recognition. And that way we got the entire association to be involved. So every single school was buying in based on whether their team was being represented there. So I definitely think working with high school athletic associations, so going all the way up to the top there, is a great way to tie in other, bring multiple sports together at once. The idea from the Pistons about doing football and cheer, who are usually linked together, is a great one. Other ideas of bringing multiple sports together in one night. No one? No one's done?
Yeah, I can talk. So one thing that I do when trying to bring different sports together is I partner up with high schools or park districts that have multiple sports, and I try to build in fundraisers for them. So like high schools find this a little bit more helpful because obviously sports need a lot of money, resources. So one thing is one time we did like a hat giveaway for the specific school, and they brought out like over 2,000 tickets, and they were all like the athletic department was part of all this. So that was one successful way of me bringing in like different sports all at once.
Perfect. Any other ideas that someone wants to share? We're coming down to about 10 minutes more to go in our time together. So any other ideas that someone wants to jump in and share for the good of the group, or a question you want to ask and pose to the group?
Hey Denise, this is Brandon from the Detroit Pistons again. We do something, gosh, it's been going on for 20 something years. And we have one rep that she handles it. It's called our palm competition. And we actually do it before a Pistons game. It kicks off like maybe at 8 o'clock in the morning and goes all the way until like maybe 3 p.m. And what it does, it gets like so different types of high school groups, and it's high school cheer groups, high school palm groups, and we actually developed into different teams where it could be I think we added like hip hop and stuff like that too. So what we did was we did that, and that's kind of something that's been successful. And I think we sold over 1,000 tickets, and the winning group gets to perform at halftime of the Pistons game with our dancers, and some other teams that came follow get to perform like our primetime performances too. So.
Fantastic.
Denise, I just have one thing to add. I mean, because I'm in I think I'm the only college sports person on this call, so some of this stuff is a little unique. But the mindset that I have when I'm working with youth sports is also reciprocity. If I want them to come to my games, I've got to go to their games. I make it a point to go to youth basketball tournaments. So I don't have days off during basketball season. On Saturday or Sunday, if we don't have a game, I'm going somewhere to watch some kids play basketball. And of course, I wear my Northwestern stuff. I do the same thing with youth football. Truth is, the most exciting football game I saw last year was a youth football game. And so, and I do the same thing with my performance groups. If one of my choirs is performing, I make sure I go there and offer them the support, because it's a very easy, fun way to be highly visible.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seen as, when you're wearing your team gear, everyone wants to be around you for sure. Any other comments or thoughts before we close this one out?
Lastly, I just wanted to add in, Denise, this is Andrew, Raptors 905. Not too sure if anyone on the call has used this before, but we've utilized, especially at MLSC, career forums, where we're actually able to leverage our expertise within our departments on a sports kind of business side for youth that potentially want to get into sports later down the line, but maybe not on the athletic train per se. So being able to do, I know with Raptors 905, we do something more specified with the front office, where we work with like the vice president of ops or team manager or the general manager of the team. And, we're successful selling like 400, 500 tickets to different schools for individuals who just want to think about their career path down the line, where they come before the game, during the day, for about 2 to 3 hours. They take part in the career forum and just kind of being able to have that Q&A with individuals that are in the industry. And then later on, they're actually able to come to the game as well. So that could be an idea that you can use maybe on the college side. You can use for, even youth sports for some of those coaches or individuals that want to get into coaching further down the line, or maybe if that's a career field or career path.
Absolutely. Great idea.
Yeah, Arjun with Toronto Marlies again. So I'm sure other teams do something similar, but we're very lucky to have obviously the Marlies and then the NHL team, the Leafs, in the same city, and also having such a big market here in Toronto. But a couple times a year we do community festivals where a specific association in the city will essentially give us their arena, and we'll bring the Marlies out one evening for a practice there. We'll pretty much spend the whole night with them. We'll have some of our coaching staff go through some drills and stuff like that before the practice, and then also they'll have a novice or a peewee team that comes on the ice with the players to do some fun little drills and stuff of the sort. Really good marketing opportunity for both us and them. They'll get some crazy videos out of it, and then during the event we'll do Maple Leafs alumni autograph sessions. We'll do at the end of the practice, we'll have the entire Marlies team sit on tables in a row, and we'll have every single kid will get their each player's autograph on a picture. So and we'll have sponsors come out with food and stuff of the sort. So and they'll buy 1,000 tickets or 20,000 minimum spend or whatever it is, and what they get out of it too is when they come back to a Marlies game, every single experience is reserved for their association. So kind of going both fold there. So we'll get obviously a full house for our game and some really cool stuff that we're doing there. And again, we're lucky that there's a big appetite for it. We'll have a couple of them a year, whether it's a preseason game or just a practice night, but the market kind of eats it up there.
That's awesome. A couple other ideas that I just want to throw out. So I know, just speaking from kids that are playing sports right now, my kids are really into special socks. So if you're thinking about unique promo items, I think socks is a great one, and it's something that can replicate a lot across lots of different sports. So keep that in mind. That's all the rage with the elementary school kids nowadays. A couple other things, if you do work with teams and you are using a third-party tool to drive some of the nights, think about using a live leaderboard. The live leaderboard can really amplify the results and really get teams excited about winning some sort of special experience. So while you may only have one high five tunnel available, if you have a platform, and I know with Spinzo we can do this, you can use a leaderboard for them to pre-select what team they're supporting, and then the winning team gets access. We worked with the Calgary Hitmen on a big promotion that they did for Ice Time, and the top 8 teams got access to Ice Time, and that was huge. And they were literally down to the ticket. We were updating at the last minute some traditional orders that came in too, because it was a really big deal who got those Ice Times. And then last, I'll say, if you're doing any sort of special offer based on someone's registration to a group, so whether that be like USA Hockey, whether that be they have a membership to USA Swimming or something like that, if you can use that registration membership ID as a unique code or a unique identifier to validate for their complimentary ticket or their discounted tickets, that's also a great option. So keep that in mind as you think about that. And then 2 other ideas that I'm just going to throw out there because I think they're, I was just, as I'm percolating on ideas, is there a way that you can develop a junior membership? Like we have our season ticket memberships. Is there a way to develop a junior membership for some of these youth sports leagues? Whether they get, maybe it's an offshoot of your kids club or an expansion of your kids club where they get something special or they get some special access, whether that's a special video or those types of things. Like, how can you create something like that? Or is there some sort of special access inside your team app that's only specific to youth and to youth sports players? So I think some of those things, like how do we separate them and make them feel really special? Because what you're building right now with these youth sports athletes and the relationship with your team is what's going to be your season ticket holders and your fans of tomorrow. So, the more passionate they are about your sport and your brand, the better off you guys are in the long run. So just a couple ideas off of the top of my head. And if anyone doesn't have anything else, then we can go ahead and shut this one down. We will have notes live and the recording live no later than Monday on this one. And then the registration for next week's military/government type programs is live already on ticketplaybook.com, so you can go there to register as well. And then I will say, if anyone has done really successful military or government nights, if you wouldn't mind reaching out to me if you'd like to be like JV and JV were on today's call and kind of leading some sharing of ideas, I would love to have some people help me on that one because I don't have anyone specifically. It was a request by one of our clients to talk about those nights because they aren't in a huge military market. So they'd love some ideas if you aren't in a huge military market. So if anyone has that or has had success, would love for you to connect and reach out. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for everyone for joining. We truly appreciate it. We hope that you're getting something out of this. If you have feedback for us, you can send it to hello@spinzo. You can reach out to myself or Emmanuel on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear your feedback if these are beneficial. If you have ideas about topics, we want you guys to bring them to the table. We want to make sure that these are valuable for you. So feel free, please, to jump out and let us know. All right, guys, stay safe, healthy, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday.